Good afternoon, sir.
How's the
Good afternoon,
week been
sir.
so far? Good afternoon. Does it sound scary that the year is going to end next month?
Oh yeah.
So all those before the year runs out, and suddenly you wake up and they say your year is running out.
It's running out.
Okay, so good news. We've set our graduation dates.
Wow.
Anyway, that's for you to come and witness. All of you are invited to the graduation with your referrals and guests for the next batch, right? We normally open the graduation for all who are affiliated to us and those who are in FM who are interested in coming this route of career development with us. So we create a big party in December, and the date has been fixed for 11th of December.
Yeah.
And so what we are now looking for now is for corporate and individual sponsors, just to make sure that we make it as big as possible. And we are ready to host it in any city where the sponsor chooses. Okay, so that's the big announcement from us. For you, I know you are preparing for your exam. I know the date has been set. Who can prompt me on the date for your exam?
16th. Oh, 13th. 13th of November.
November. Oh wow, okay. That's on Saturday 13th. Fantastic. So this Saturday, then the next one. Okay, fantastic. So on Saturday this week, I'm going to take you through an exam review. What I typically do in the exam review is I do random sampling of the exam questions, random sampling, as much as I can cover in 1 hour. You know, the exam is 3 hours, 20 minutes, right? So as many questions as we can see in 1 hour, we will do on Saturday. So this is an opportunity for everyone who wants to write the exam to make sure that you don't miss Saturday's class and don't be late at all. Okay, so you can grab as quickly as possible, or you can grab. We'll just be rolling out the question, 2 minutes discussion on the answer, like that until we cover. Hopefully, I should be able to cover 20% of the exam. All right, so that should be about somewhere around. No, maybe not. We normally do about 40, 50 questions. So yes, I think we can cover 20% of the exam comfortably on Saturday. Okay, just to give you like a heads up. Okay, I hope that's good.
Yes, sir. It's good, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good, good.
Thank you. All right, so today I'm going to share my screen so that we can look at our project docket. I believe you've all read the project and you have very serious questions for me. Let me just lay it out up front. We've done this for 12 classes so far. Well, let's say 11 classes so far. Class 8 and 9 were merged eventually because of disruption during that period. So 11 classes, yours is like the 12th, still your class 13, but it's technically the 12th because of the merger of 8 and 9. They have one governance. So we have, every now and then done some tweaks to it, but we've not done any major structural change to the project. And I need to let you know that the projects as they are now, you will be the last class to have it the way they are now, because we are doing a major revamp and kind of ramping things up on the project side, as well as most other things. But the promise is that we'll give you more sessions in the, in the months and years ahead. All our alumni are always carried along with all when we are doing any improvement or making any change or bringing up anything new. So you'll definitely be carried along, and you'll be given the benefits of learning what's new and what's coming up. So that's that about the project and the revisions that are coming. We don't intend to bring the revisions back to those who already finished, graduated. We don't bring that back. But in terms of providing clarification for these project work that you're doing, yes, we want to keep supporting you. And then as part of our goal to ensure that everyone can move on with their careers swiftly and quickly with whatever they have in mind, we normally will issue certificates, and we may not have a graduation till December again next year. So the next likely time you'll be having the graduation ceremony will be December, but you'll be issued a certificate as soon as you qualify and you need to use your certificate. So we're not going to hold on to certificates until December as a practice. Okay. All right, so let me attend to any general questions about the program so far. I would like to hear your feedback. I got some very good feedback in the last class. We've noted that today we've been walking through the Oil and Gas Trainers Association International Trainers Standardization Audits. We've also learned quite a handful of things from our auditor and things we can do to increase the standardization of our program. We're going to make it a continuous exercise, but it's good to hear from you, both the good, the bad, and the ugly in this session. We're going to have more time to rub minds, but at least it's good to hear a few feedback on what worked well, what else you would love to see, so that we can also learn. Because one of the things that we've always held on to is continuously listening to our customers and our learners, so that we can get to keep making it better. Much of the things you enjoyed in your batch in this class, we're not there in 2017 and 2018, right? So it was feedback from them that we used to build it to what you saw or what you have seen so far. And feedback from you is going to lead to more, greater improvements in the future. So if you can pop up your hand, let me hear what question you have. That would be helpful. Or what contribution or comments or feedback you had. All right, Diana, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think first and foremost, I want to appreciate the flexibility of the program, for the fact that we have, actually I've had in mind to do this course, but for quite a while, because we are lean, the workload has been overwhelming. And so it has been difficult. Even if I was willing to take on the cost of the training personally, as against getting the my organization to commit to it. But the time, making out the time was the problem. So because of this hybrid system where we have opportunity to do online training, was just what I needed to be part of this training. And actually, at some point, because initially the timetable was adjusted, I think it was originally planned for September. So I've made all my projections for that time, including everything. And somehow I got to know that it was going to happen earlier. And at some point, I was unsure if I'll be able to meet up with the demand, because we are going through a reorganization in my firm, and particularly my department.
Yeah.
At some point, I was just the only person running the facility unit.
Wow.
Until some persons were brought in, and while I was thinking I'll be resting and then developing in that area, I was being transferred to another unit.
That's how business goes, you know.
So, but my happiness is that I can recall when I had the discussions with you, you encouraged me to start, and I think gave me the opportunity to say to do a flexible payment. So that was actually the boost I needed. And even if I have not been faithful to do all that is required in terms of my assignments, which I'm applying for a leave so that I can really focus to complete the remaining assignment and my exam, prepare for my exams. I think it's thoughtful of you to consider this kind of flexibility. And I think you should, because that is a trend with the change, the new normal. People are also seeing the possibility of people staying in their different locations and getting the knowledge. And I think in my own experience, the methodology you have employed makes the training as real as possible. And I don't think it will be anything different being in the classroom and what we have done in the past weeks and months. So I think for me, that is a good one. I must commend the effort.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words and for all the efforts you've given to the class, even agreeing to be the class governor. And I hope that we'll have more time together as part of the Alumni Council of Vianana. So that's something that that leadership position is going to be there continuously, almost perpetually, I think.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How is your day going, sir?
Very good.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, I'm not having a question, but just an observation, right? Sure. And the first observation I'm having is the timing. Though for the Mondays and Thursdays, the evening is very, very well. It's very, very okay. But I used to think of Saturdays. Have you been in this course is going to continue as online courses? I think the Saturday class should be like in the morning, maybe around 9, 10. Because these 4 things, so some people might be at home and you can see 4 evening classes for Saturdays is always scanty. You understand? So I think the timing on Saturdays should be aspects. And this too, for the practical aspect too, please. If I think we did just 2 practicals in this
class,
all through these courses. I think it shouldn't be. It should be more than 2. Actually, the first time we were talking about the practical, we were talking about 5 places. We said open markets, we go to banks, so but just quite unfortunate, we only be able to go to 2 places just to perform the plumbing and the AC aspect, no electricals and some other things too. So that's the second observation. Okay. Then the third observation is we've been talking about different things in facility management, but you never mentioned something around vendors, facility manager relationship. What I mean is in the sense of tipping. What are the things involved in tipping? Your experiences in tipping and what it could cost. You know, I wouldn't like to ourselves as a facility manager. A vendor might finish the work and say, my God, take this so amount as your pocket money. All those kind of things, I think it was not treated at all. And I hope it should be treated like what your advice is. And even when you are taking tipping, what are the precautionary stuffs you should consider in that? I think these are the 3 observations I have for them.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. In fact, all your observations are very heavy. I'll respond to them one by one.
Okay, sir.
I think we actually listened to this Saturday class timing. And so in January, the next class that is starting is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, no longer Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So we're going to have pure weekdays for the virtual in the evenings. But We are also listening to hear that many people want to be physically in class now that we don't have so much of that restriction anymore. So we're going to be having a Saturday physical class. So what those who come virtually on Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday covered will be covered all day on Saturday by the group on the Saturday bunch. They will all be one classmates. They will all be in one class, but they will have two sets. One set is doing a weekday, and one set is doing weekend. Now, because if it were possible to make the tuition fees the same, we would have also made it flexible that if you miss weekdays, you can decide to come weekend. But the tuition is not the same. The weekend, which is like an executive program, is slightly about 10% more expensive than the weekday virtual, right? So the virtual is $265 for tuition. The weekend or Saturday full day is $300 for tuition. So what it means is that it is possible for someone who is on weekend to decide to join and run classes during the week virtually, and decide whether I want to come weekend again or not. But it will be difficult to have someone who is on weekday, Monday, Friday, Wednesday, Friday, come and join Saturday, because the costs of those two trainings are different. We are still working on those, but basically the details of that is that we listened, we are creating a physical class, and we are ensuring that the weekday classes run during weekdays. So no longer a mixture of weekdays and weekends. So
okay, sir.
That's for the first one, Taufik. Now, the second one has to do with your call out on the practical classes. Okay, so for the practical classes, we normally have 3, not 2, right? And we can go to all kinds of facilities. Was it 2 they had this time? I think it was 3 they had. They went to Mansard Place. You went to, before sure, you went, they had 3 this time. They had 3, not 2. We always had 3 traffic. So maybe you must have missed out on what happened. They did Mansard Place. We did an estate, a residential estate, and we now did the Oshodi transport interchange just last weekend. So yes, we always try to make sure it's a minimum of 3. Pardon?
Sorry, I was not.
When I didn't hear that. You're muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I said I was not aware of the first one we did.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. I know that we're at Mansard Place. So basically, we have and usually we make sure that classmates and alumni provide the opportunity. We're grateful to Victor and his company. That's Victor Osagi and his company. We're grateful to another of your classmates for who remembers the classmate site you guys went to in the estate?
MM,
yes, fantastic. So basically we challenge you to come up with your places so that we can come and learn with you, and we try to put that. But we also understand that because of COVID restrictions, many business premises have not yet fully opened. We always try to take a class to Heritage Place. Heritage Place is the only smart building that we can, boast of, or at least assess in Nigeria right now. And we have a good relationship with the management. But all kinds of eventualities made that impossible at this time. Okay, so we just keep doing our best. Taking the feedback, we will schedule many more, but we will schedule according to how available access to those facilities are. I know many facilities that want me and a couple of people to come, but not many could accommodate up to 20 people to come for a tour, just because if somebody snaps you a picture with such a crowd out there, you don't know how far they will take it in terms of contravening the COVID laws or restrictions. You mentioned that last one. You see that last question you asked, Taufik. I think I must have stressed it in at least 2 classes, or even 3. There were times when we discussed doing our training, and I'll share with you experiences about conflict of interest. When we have discussions around how your bosses will take you seriously when you bring proposals, integrity. When we have discussions around business case, how your business case
I remember.
Get approved. We always talk about, you must have your hands completely clean. I even told you at some point that I work in an environment where I will refuse to bid for jobs deliberately. I mean, not jobs like things they are selling, you know, all these things that have been declared unusable by the FM. I won't bid for it. Let other people in the company bid for it, just to show because if I bid for it, I know the value. I'll bid more than any other person, especially for things that are still having substantial value, right? So I'll just take myself away from it and say, let others bid for it, because I want to show a very high standard of ethics. I've had experiences with contractors who want to, like you said, tip. I don't call it tip, it's bribe. You understand? It's bribe. They want to bribe you so that you can always be calling them to come and do work. There should be no room for that at all. Most organizations, okay, so this is how organizations lay out their policies. They will tell you, for some, they will tell you, it shouldn't be more than $100 in value. Most multinationals will say it shouldn't be more than $100 in value. Gift items. And it cannot be cash. Some organizations will tell you, if you get it, less than $100 in value and not cash, you must bring it to the whole team. It cannot be you. You know how it is during those days when, I don't know about you guys on the field right now, but when I was in the field, on Christmas time, when you have all those officials receiving hampers, the FM office hampers can get to the ceiling.
Very true, very true.
There are people working in the organization don't get any hampers. So when the organization allows us to take hampers at all, there should always be that control to say, let's have the hampers shared among. So let's just stay on that part of modeling ethics. I know a lot of FMs whose careers have been completely muddled up, ruined, in fact, because of this getting entangled here and there. And the worst part is, if you get involved in taking a cut from making a deal for transactions, there's a high likelihood that you will not focus on career advancement. And then 2, you force your organization to produce more rules, more stringent controls to tie the hands of the FM departments. I've seen organizations that created a procurement department for the first time just because of the high level of suspicion of the FM department. Just create them as a checkmate. So let's be careful. I don't call it tips, it's bribe, and I don't take it. I don't encourage it because it's against the ethics of our profession, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so we have a sizable number of audience, so we'll get straight into our So the first project is, okay, so let me explain how the project works, right? We're going to have each person submit 6 projects. Now, these projects have to be completed maximum 6 months. It can be done in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right? But not longer than 6 months. Okay, not longer than 6 months. Each project can be submitted one by one, or all 6 of them submitted together. Each of the projects have instructions on, what the expectations are, everything that you need to know about the project, but we still entertain continuous discussion on an ongoing basis. And the reason we move you into the alumni group immediately you finish your exam is so that we can keep talking about the project on an ongoing basis with the entire alumni, because we have people in other batches and other classes who are still working on their projects. So we will take that discussion forward. And we are open for continuous discussion. But this is the advice I normally would give. Do not pack these documents away and say, sometime in January, I'll start working on them. Start working on them now. Set a goal to be done before Christmas this year. So by the time you now really get into the details, the thick of the work, you will find yourself getting into January and maybe February in the worst case scenario. But if you pack it all up to January, you will end up coming back to ask for extension. Okay, and that's what we don't always want to, it's not as if we won't give you extension, we always give extension, but it's not in your interest to, it's not in your best interest rather to be asking for extension, because people who even get extensions, they still don't put in that much effort, they still leave it using student syndrome to the last minute of that extension, okay? All right, what other general instructions are there regarding the projects? Yes, all projects are not equal. Out of 100, your project 1 asset register is 15, project 2 is 25, project 3 is 10. That's how many now? That's 50. Project 4, I think it's 25. Project 5 is 15. Yes, same thing. And project 6 is 10. Yeah. Now, what this means is that we have been able to weigh the level of the rigor, the efforts that will go into each of the projects. And we determine that facility condition assessments and emergency preparedness and business continuity are heavy enough to attract more weights or more score during the grading. All right, so we'll get to the first project, asset register. We all agree that asset register is one of the first things you need to put in place when managing a new facility. And to get your asset register right, a few other documents will come to mind. You need to have your as-built drawings, which your architectural, mechanical, HVAC, electrical, plumbing drawings. Okay, and all of them must be in place. You need to have specifications or material schedule. You need to have, measurements, counts. You need to have descriptions of all the assets, and that's basically what we are doing this first one. You're basically starting out asking, what do I own? What am I in charge of? What am I managing? because you cannot manage what you don't know. Okay, and this project also helps you prepare yourselves for the kind of interviews you're going to be encountering, right? People will want to know what are the first things you will do. You know, the first thing you want to do in any endeavor is to learn as much as possible about what's required of you. And the asset register is one way you can easily get a sense of what you are going to be put in charge of. Okay, so the requirements are there. The expectation is that you are able to have a spreadsheet presented for the assets of a real site, a real facility. We also recommend that you don't use one unit dwelling facilities, all of those 3-bedroom flats or one duplex kind of facility. Let the facility be sizable enough, a commercial building, a school, a factory, a residential estate, you know, something like that that can give you, you know, some stationary work to do. Let it also cover the assets that you are managing or that you have scoped. So you must develop the scope of coverage of the assets. Okay, it's very important. So if you are not managing services for the internal units, internal buildings or internal households in the estate, then your asset register stops at a line item identifying that house, not what is inside that house, because you're managing common areas, okay? So this is suggested template. It's not cast in stone. I don't expect you to use it hook, line, and sinker. For example, I don't think we have quantity here. No, yeah, I think so. We don't have quantity. So you could decide to inventory or a line item for chairs in a conference room, for example, and you will need to put quantity if each chair is not independently or individually identified. So what it means is that every asset item that has an ID, a name, a serial number, for example, must have its own line item. Okay. Okay. And then you have to use your asset management policy of the organization. What do you inventory as part of your asset register? For some organization, things would have to have a value. For example, something that is less than 100,000 naira, for example, may not necessarily come under your asset register. So you'll not be inventorying or including things like computer monitor or small printers on tables, if that threshold has been set by the organization. So you need to decide, and because it's a project, you can actually create that organizational policy yourself to say, this is what we define as an asset. And that's why my asset register includes just these items. But don't forget that your spaces, all the components that make up your buildings and sites will all need to be cataloged. And that's why you see us having floor and space, because that's what you need to do first. It's called your space hierarchy. You need to agree on the cascade. How many buildings, how many floors in each building, how many rooms or spaces in each floor. And I use that to create your array. And I start identifying assets in each of the spaces. There's something else, again, that is not on this spreadsheet that I always recommend, and that is the area. So length, width, and height, and area of the space. Because for certain asset classes like painted surfaces, tiled surfaces, and things that are ceiling material, for example, the area is a quantity. that you will need to identify. This accessory that does not have that entry, right? So think about things that are not here and add them to your own template. This is just suggested. There are things that you may not necessarily need from here. Your job is to ignore them and then use the ones that are relevant to you. But there are some basic things that you cannot leave blank. An item that typically comes with a serial number, right, should have a serial number in your asset register. So you cannot put a rooftop unit air conditioner, for example, and leave serial number blank and expect the person scoring your project to understand that you were too lazy to pick up the serial number, or the serial number has fallen off for some other reason, there's no serial number, right? So that's an identifiable asset. But if there's a table, table is high value, for example, but of course it doesn't have a serial number, that can be blank. So it's easy to know assets that will have some information and those that will not have some, right? So some data may not be required for certain assets. If you are inventorying, for example, office computers, each one is individually identifiable. They must have their line items one by one, right? So those are the kind of things we're talking about. Now, there will be some line items that you will have to use best judgment, rule of thumb, or some personal experience guesstimation. For example, install dates for some assets. You may not have evidence of such install dates, but if you know the year the building was built, and you don't have any other information to indicate that that particular asset was not installed from the beginning of the building, you can use that year. So when you have dates, you know, as worse as you can get in terms of data accuracy, at least get to the nearest year. And then the items that have to do with cost. Now, because this project is a live project that we want management to actually use, we don't want you to make up things. Let it be as close to reality as possible, so that when you get to the budgeting side, to be a real budget. When you get to the health and safety, to be a real health and safety analysis. Everybody can relate with it. But there are some situations where you may not have a baseline cost, historical cost, for example, like this purchase cost line item, this column, for example. You could actually use an estimation based on today's price. If an air conditioner today is 200,000 and that AC was bought 10 years ago, I can work my way back to 90 or 100,000 for that AC 10 years ago, right? So, but we are not going to be using accuracy of such estimates or costs to score you. So don't worry about, oh, well, I put so and so amount for this asset. I'm sure they're going to score me down from that with that. But that again it comes with a caveat. If you go and put a 10-ton air conditioning unit for 80,000 naira, for example, the person scoring it will just laugh. I may not be too impressed to give you very high scores when you show no commitment to any proper reasoning or thinking. That's just what I would say about that. So questions about this first one?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, like in our facility now, there are some gadgets that is not in our care. Example is computer and UPS. Those items are not in our under our care. When I'm taking my inventory, yes, should I involve it or I should remove it?
Now, depends on whether you have access to the data. The guys who are managing it, if they give you access, please capture it. It will help them.
Sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so details, you know, different headers have been given a description and some example, just as a guide. Please read this.
Sir.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, for assets like floor tiles, you know, they are not easily, they don't easily get spoiled.
Yes.
Should they be captured?
Yes, every asset must be captured. So you must have floor tiles, how many square meters of that floor tiles when they were laid, right?
Okay.
That's part of your assets. They are part of your assets. Your roof.
Including ceiling.
Yes, your ceiling, your light fittings, they are all part of your assets. So it's important that you capture them. Okay. All right, project 2.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please, Francis, go ahead.
So the building fabrics, talking about the body of the building, is supposed to be part of the assets. But how do you make a 20-story building and quantify it as in total square meter and put it as an asset? Just multiply it. Or 20-story building. That's what I'm trying to say. For the floor itself, you can do the floor.
Yes. So the thing is this: if you have done the space hierarchy where you have each space, right? Inside each space, there's a window. That's a building fabric. There's a door. That's a building fabric. There's a wall, right? What material is that wall made of? There's a floor. There's a ceiling. That's what I'm talking about, right? Now, if you now take the sites, you know, the sites where you have your grounds, your trees, your terraces, your walkways, your fountain pool, and then the building outer cladding. For those of you who have, different types of cladding like aluminum cladding or tiles or whatever on the body of your building, you need to know how many square meters that material is and describe that square material inside your asset register. Just the way you should know the names of the trees and the shrubs and how many they are in your site.
Okay.
If you have an Iroko tree in your site, for example, you should have it in your asset register. But if you have shrubs that in 1, 2, 3 years, they die off, right? Maybe they are used as hedges. You can list a hedge as a line item and take the length of the hedge and the name of the plant that makes up that hedge as your asset details.
Then you put cost. It's not necessary to
put
cost in all.
Of course, there should be cost. That hedge was installed with a cost. Nothing comes for free in your facilities.
Okay, but there are some that they are naturally in the facility when they bought them. Do we just quantify them with maybe a market price?
Oh, yes. That's why I say use best judgment, experience, rule of thumb. Just at least let there be some thinking into what got you to the estimates that you use. So in case I ask you, why did you put this price for this? You just tell me why I thought. Nobody will challenge you for that, but let there be a reasoning around it.
Sir, thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Maybe in an office where there is a column, will I quantify the column too?
When you say a column, that's like a pillar running into an open space.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
I wouldn't necessarily quantify that separately. I will just quantify it as part of walls, so I can capture the finishing, because that's what I want to really capture. You know that your building structure, don't form part of your asset register. It's your building fabric, MEP systems, your sites, and all of those utilities you have on site that form your, because your building structure is not visible to you. It's hidden behind what you see. What you see is what you catalog. That's what you really do maintenance on.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Project 2, Facility Condition Assessment, FCA. Just the way we have done the analysis on the items, and listed them and described them and all of that. We are now using project 2 overlaid on project 1 to look at the condition of each of those assets. And that's what we're basically doing in project 2. So you have the spreadsheet for gathering data is down there, yeah. So you could use this, you could use exactly your asset register regrouped, because this approach here is an approach that looks at all the particular assets components in across the building, right? So you can use this one as your template for gathering data, because at the end of the day, you want to give it a condition rating. You want to list out the defects, the scope of work to fix it, the estimated cost, and the CROV there is the current replacement value, which is what it will cost to replace it if you didn't want to fix it, right? So those two numbers are divided out to give you your FCI. The estimated cost divided by CROV gives you your facility condition index. Now, this is your table. This is your data gathering analysis table that helps you look at all of your facilities carefully. But you will now need to write a summary report, right? That is described. There's a cover page, executive summary, introduction, description of the facility, condition assessments, basically, and then you will follow that. So you're basically looking at your spreadsheet and saying, this is the story that I'm getting out of this data that's in my spreadsheet. Okay, so that's your facility condition assessment project. So this report backed up, so the report could be a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation backed up by a spreadsheet where you have put your data gathering. Okay. Questions? A scale of 5 is always very good for rating. Yeah. Scale of 3 may not give you the full range of options of grading how your facilities are. Okay, so that's why we try a scale of 5. But of course, some people use scale of 10, scale of 7, and they'll be right. Just be consistent, right? If you decide to go outside the norm. Okay. So this is an attempt to look at all potential or possible components of a building. There are some that will not apply to your facility. You don't need to start leaving them there and start saying things like, this does not apply, this does not apply. Whatever does not apply to your facility, just delete it, okay? Tom, your hand is up, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'd like to know why you wouldn't take the building structure as part of the assets, whereas you count the Iroko tree.
Okay. Okay, so if I'm looking at a wall, right? I'm not seeing the structure, whereas I'll see the Iroko tree, right? What I'm seeing when looking at a wall is really the wall plastering or cladding or painting or finishing, right? Those are the things that I want to log. Okay, so if I decide to put a separate line item for the column or for the wall structure behind it, the whole idea of asset register is to be able to use it as the work breakdown structure for all your management. This is the tool that you are going to be using to see your facility on a daily basis, right? So of course, you know, there are some structural elements that you could decide that I'll put them on the asset register because I'll be doing an annual inspection on them, right? Like foundation. Every year I want to do, maybe every 5 years or every 10 years even, I want to do some structural test, integrity test on the building. But your asset register is actually a tool used on a daily basis. And your structure does not require you to be working on a daily basis with them. But everything you see from your roof down to the basement in your facility are going to be captured in your asset register. So if I say wall, I may say that wall is structure, but what I'm really talking about when I'm looking at it is cladding finishing. So that's the point I was making. Instead of making 2 lines for wall, 2 line items for wall, make one and deal with what you'll be managing around it. Okay. So I'm done answer your question.
I said, basically, we are looking at the interiors, are we?
Not just interiors. On your site, you are looking at not just the grounds, landscaping features, hardscape features. You are looking at the building exterior. For example, you have a curtain wall. You need to know how many square meters, what material that curtain wall is made of, how thick the aluminum or the glass is, for example, what type of glass material it is, right? You need to know that. If you have decorative features on your building, even signages, like the name of your building on the building body or the building wall outside, it's an asset, it needs to be cataloged as well, right? If you have a signage out there saying this is the address, this is how to locate my office. I'm working for AFCC, this is how to find the AFCC office, for example. That is part of my asset and so on and so forth. So basically, you need to inventory everything, both internally and externally.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, Tafik.
Yes, sir. On this access facility access condition
assessment, yeah.
Assessment, yeah. Would it be for one, like let's say in a whole building or some part of the building, like maybe we are talking about from our side now, we have operation wing, we have admin wing. So will it cover the whole of admin wing, or I would say this so offices, this is the condition, so office, this is the condition?
Yes, you do it building by building.
Building by building. Okay. Okay, sir.
And your project scope has to be an entire site, right? Unless the site is really a bunch of sites. For example, a university campus will not be one site, right? An airport may not be one site because there are many facilities, you know, conglomerated into that. But for a typical site, you should cover every asset in the site. Some sites are so large that the workload required to catalog and put all of this data together will be so much. So what we tried to do in previous classes, in the last 2 classes, is to form committees among your classmates. So if you have classmates who are not too far from you and you have a large project to work on, you talk to each other, you know, and then you work together on the project. Why we do that is to ensure that one, you that's having a big project don't get overwhelmed, and the other person who probably doesn't have a substantial experience from a small project will not be forced to do it on a very small project. Some don't even have a place where they will do it because they are not on an FM job or running a mean of internal services portfolio right now, right? So that helps, you know, both parties. And we on our part, we score everybody that works together on the project the same score. So you need to work with, you know, someone who will be able to pull weight with you to get something done and done well. okay, so that when we give you an 80% score, it goes around to everybody on that team. And I personally manage team sizes for projects. I'll evaluate your project size, and I'll decide how many people you can put together. You can't have a group of 10 for a mall of 30 shops, for example. I probably won't approve that. But anything from 4 or 5 or less, I'll say yes. Let's work with that. I think the biggest group we've ever created is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we had 5 in one group, and that was for the massive Oshodi bus terminal. That was a big project, and they really acquitted themselves judiciously on that project.
6, sir.
Were you guys 6?
Yes, sir.
Oh wow. Okay, interesting. All right, that's fine. So that's what we've had. So we allow that so that you can get good good outcomes. And I love the way your team too. It bonded well, met regularly, divided the assignments and delivered effectively. Okay.
So, sir, sorry, please.
Well done.
So
Yes.
what you are saying in SS, in assets register and FCA, is get everything you can see in the facility, or yes, in the facility, in the built environment, listed with all their conditions and costs and everything, so that you can use them to work every day.
Yes. Yes.
That is just the project. And so are we going to do all of this on a spreadsheet and submit it like online?
So
or we have
I
to print our spreadsheet?
Project one, asset register, is on a spreadsheet.
Yes.
Project 2 has a spreadsheet and a proper report. The report format is here. Are you getting it now? Are you seeing my screen at all?
Yes, I see it.
Yes, sir.
Good.
You can see it, sir.
Good. So that's there's a report format. Read it. What you are going to write inside the report is stated here, right? How you arrange your pictures, your remedial works. This is just like a summary of all you have gathered inside your spreadsheet. So if you look at this project, you will find 2 of the 6 projects require a comprehensive report together with a spreadsheet, and they're the ones that give you the highest score. That's the emergency preparedness and the asset condition assessment. They are both 25. 2 of them alone is 50 marks out of the 100. So both report and spreadsheet, okay? Project 3, health, safety, security, and environment. This is basically to train you to be able to perform audits and develop action plans to close out audits. So there's a spreadsheet and there's a report. You do the spreadsheet and then you create a report with it. When looking at the spreadsheet, the key aspect of this spreadsheet is the recommendations part. When you answered no, there should be a recommendation. Even when you answer yes, a comment to qualify your yes is also important, or will also be accepted on the recommendations column. So likelihood, impact, and risk level is talking about trying to rate what that particular line item how heavy that particular line item is, right? Does the organization have an HSE policy in place and displayed, right? Yes, no. Most of the time, if you answer yes, likelihood and impact will be low, and your risk level automatically will be low. Most of the time, if you answer no, either likelihood or impact or both will be high, right? So trying to assess your yes or no answer and the risk level. And then if you answer no and you have likelihood and impact that are probably high, a high risk level, your recommendation will be how to fix and prevent or take care of that situation so you can change to yes, if yes is a desired answer to be positive. So it's a pretty straightforward audit. But once you've done the audit, you now need to write a report that summarizes how you assess the facility. All right. So that's what this one is about. Questions? I think this is the closest we have to security training as part of this program, apart from our access control, fire fighting equipment training that we talked about before. So this is one aspect of our training program that we need to improve on. I think Daniel gave us that feedback a couple of parts of the last class. So we're going to run some modules on security management. I'm bringing back again to the alumni to participate in. So these are just basically how to rate and rank your risk and the consequences. Project number 4, emergency preparedness and business continuity. It's actually a document you prepare. That document will be embedded with some of these templates populated. And they are listed here, A to F. You have a risk assessment, business impact analysis, incident report, response plan, roles and responsibility, key contact list, internal and external, and business recovery plan. Each of these have a tool you are going to use to prepare it. And once you've done that, you add them into your reports. Each of them will go into your reports. So it's a risk management tool. Identify all the likely risks in every aspect of a facility. A few examples have been given. Don't necessarily copy it if it doesn't apply to you, to your facility. You have your incident response plan, like a checklist for responding to incidents. So for this one, for example, it's a form that should just be in your emergency preparedness plan. It's a tool for dealing with real emergencies. So it's not you're not basically dealing with a real emergency in this project. You are simply saying, this is the form I will use when I have a real emergency, after I've identified all my risks. There are roles and responsibilities. Every emergency plan has the roles and responsibilities. People who perform certain function during an emergency. It's advisable, and make note of this, it's advisable to add an emergency management organogram, different from your organization's organogram. That's not something that we have added, but I think it's very, very important that you have an organogram. So if there's an incident or an emergency, there's usually an incident commander. There will usually be someone in charge of fire wardens. There'll be somebody in charge of resuscitation, CPRO, life support. There'll be somebody in charge of different things in your response plan. So everyone can fit into an organogram that you can use to then populate the details into these roles and responsibilities. Key contacts talks about staff who would need to respond in an emergency. So if it's just about adding more information about people who play different roles, so they may be the same set of people in these roles and responsibilities that you put here. But again, you need to include both external and internal. So now that's why we have two of those. It's actually one template. You can just use it as one template, but the external does not have departments. So basically, you want to list your contacts. People that their phone numbers, they must be reachable. People that in case of anything, we will depend on them, just like that. Their details will be here. Then you now have the business recovery plan. Here, you identify the key business activities. Now, you are not talking of just FM department activities. Now, you're talking about your organization. If you're a manufacturing organization, for example, you will have key business activities, procurement and supply of inputs, manufacturing process, and so on. You identify them. Then preventative and recovery actions. Because you've already done your risk analysis, you now know exactly what you will put in here. Resource requirements, outcomes, recovery time objective, responsibility, completion date, and status. All right, project 4, questions. All right, Femi, go ahead.
Yeah. Good day, sir.
Good day, welcome.
Yeah. Please, from the list I'm seeing here, there are some few things that I may not have access to, but the template will still be on what I'm presenting. But if I don't have access to it, I don't have to fill it, do I?
Not having access to it, does that mean you are not the one managing it?
Okay, I'll set an example, like the diesel generator mechanic, the contact address. You know, we are tenants in UBA, and I don't think there are some things that they just restrict us from giving having access to, even to some of the floors. So I have that issue a lot.
I understand, but you know that
I don't know if that's
yes. You know that your landlord is obligated to share the emergency plan with you.
You know, this HSS team, health, safety, and environment. I actually spoke to the man in charge, Max Sado, here, and he was kind of not open. Maybe he was thinking that I will use it against him in the future, because already we are questioning the money they are paying us. We are paying them. You understand? So they are restricting a lot of information.
Yes.
They are restricting a lot of information.
I understand. Okay, that's understandable. So what I normally do is I allow for learners to chat me up, right? Chat me up on certain specifics that you know, I'll be able to show some understanding, so that when you submit your project, you will not be scored down. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hello. Project 5, your maintenance plan. And if you look at most of what we have been working on, especially project 1, project 2, now project 5, you use the asset register as your base, right? once you have your maintenance strategy, you want to include all the activities. So what you are seeing here is your assets register covers up to this point, right? And then, are you seeing what I've highlighted? Up to asset description, right? Those are information that you can just use your asset register as the base, include your maintenance strategy, and then begin to list out your maintenance activities. It is the maintenance activities for each asset that form the basis for the maintenance plan, right? So you have frequency, cost, whether it's outsourced or not, responsible party, and then you will not put 365 columns for 365 days when you now calendar what needs to be done for 1 year. So when you see calendar here, it means that you're going to create calendar day columns, right? So 365 days make 1 year. What you're going to be doing daily, for example, you have to tick it on all 365 days, or daily, but weekdays. So you tick every Monday to Friday continuously. Then the ones that you're going to be doing weekly, you pick a day of the week, Tuesday, for example, and you tick the whole Tuesdays of 52 weeks. And the ones you're going to be doing once a month, you pick a day in a week in the month. So you could pick first Monday of the 3rd week, right? Every month, first Monday of the 3rd week, that's monthly, and so on and so forth. This is pretty simple. It's basically just to compile the spreadsheet. So project 1 and project 5 is just, just the spreadsheet you're submitting, okay? Now let's go to project 6, budgeting and reporting. This project is a way to break down your revenue and expenses into different categories. You have A to I, but it's not cast in stone. You can have different categories depending on the organization you are running. And then separate operating expenditure, operating budget from capital budget. Don't use them, both of them on the same lineup, okay? So that's our suggested template, but it doesn't necessarily follow that you must use this. Why I'm saying this is that you could have a more sophisticated budget template in your organization that you can use, provided it captures, it separates operations from CAPEX. We are good, okay? It captures previous years, actual and budget, and current years monthly, month 1 to month 12, and then put your assumptions and justifications. This is one thing that has not been very common in most budgets. So you need to have your assumptions and justifications. Olajumoke, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. All right, my question is on all the summary of all these reports that we are given. We find out that some of these facilities don't have all of these operations in place. So how do you give your honest advice, to implement? And it's coming with a cost.
Yes.
And they probably tell you, oh, this is not involved in what we are doing or what we want to do or not, and all that.
Yes,
especially in part of HSC and all that. You find that a lot of organizations or facilities don't take HSC serious, and some other other things to be involved in operation, in full facility management.
Yes, I agree. What we are training you to do is to do things differently, right? So you're going into a facility that does not have these, and you want to create it. Take, for example, they just spend money and make money as they like. There's no budget, right? Create a budget as if you are now going to be the one running this facility. You're going to do market survey. You're going to put quantities down. You're going to estimate everything as closely as you'll be able to implement. So that if somebody looks at your budget and say, are you sure you can run this facility with this money? Say, yes, I can, right? That's what we want you to be confident about. So facilities that you are doing this in are supposed to become better because you have done these projects. They are supposed to be able to use some of the efforts that you have put into the research and data gathering and organization of these reports to start using that as a template for improvement. That's the whole goal. So you grow, the facility managers of those facilities you are doing it in are supposed to also grow. But ultimately, if you have done this 6 projects once in these projects that we are working in now, you can manage facilities anywhere in Nigeria. That's just the kind of confidence we want you to be able to have. And that's why we're taking you through this. Many people have managed facilities for 12 years, 15 years. They are your seniors in the industry. They have never done any of these processes once. This is your opportunity to eclipse them in career development. Automatically, you are going to be way above them. I have people that graduated from this program and moved on from 70K job to 350, 500K job. You know why? Because they have the muscles and the mental power to develop outputs. This is just basic. You know, we're trying to make this project as basic as possible. We didn't want to make it look overwhelming. Oh, this facility management is too hard. That's why you see all this looking so simple templates like this. Otherwise, you would have been scared. So starting from here, that we're even putting you now, you are already far better than everybody out there in terms of what they have done in their facility management career. Only few people who have worked in multinational organizations and large corporates where they have invested in consultants to develop these processes will know better than you because they'll have those processes in place. Or those who have done ISO certification in their organization, they'll probably know how to do some of these things. But the vast majority of FMs out there, in fact, you are now going to be in the top 2% of FMs out there with this training and projects that you're going to be doing. So put everything into it. I've seen some people get so distracted, they change job, the new job is so stressful, they could not have time, some change job again. I know the funny thing about our industry, the demand is so high that before you do 6 months in one job, somebody's already calling to come and take another job. You understand? You think I've arrived. You just be like that monkey that thought he was already human. You understand? And then at some point in the future, it will come and choke you again. You just think you already know. Please do it faithfully. That's what I'm trying to impress on you, okay?
All right, thank you very much. And one more thing, sir. Yeah, sir, sorry to mention this, but I went somewhere where I'm sure you are familiar with this information. I went somewhere and you know, I was supposed to take up that role. And I went for a meeting. And the first question that was pushed to me was, I want to make 20 million. How do I make 20 million? Sincerely, I was off balance. As in, I was like, if I can make 20 million for you, I won't even be sitting down here. I won't even be here sitting down with you if I can actually make 20 million. So,
yes, actually,
sorry, my question is how the business aspect of, you know, the FM too, you know, I think we also need to, I've not probably captured it, or I don't know. I've tried to find out where exactly it was treated. I can't.
Please go through your class videos. You will see the FM business course that we did, right? We captured the full spectrum of FM business opportunities. Now, you see that question you mentioned, I know I've heard it before. It's actually a psychological question. It's a psychometric type question. It's not necessarily for you to, you know, put down a roadmap for 20 million on the spot, right? that question is, and that's why when we're doing the workplace productivity class, we said, learn how to understand what the question is really asking. The question is actually asking is, if you meet an impossible challenge, how do you approach it? If the person interviewing you has asked you the question this way, the answer you should have given to this question I just asked you now, if you meet a very daunting challenge, how will you approach it, right? Yeah, exactly. If I gave you this question, the answer you will give me for this question is the same answer you should give me when I say, I want 20 million. How will you get me 20 million? I'm sure that must have come across to you like, oh my goodness.
I was off balance. Seriously, I couldn't even talk.
It's okay. I'm sure you learn every day. So next time you get that kind of question, start explaining your understanding of how to surmount challenges. You understand how to overcome objections, how to make the impossible possible, right? Your frame of mind, your leadership skills, your ability to analyze situations. Those are the kind of things you will bring on board, right? How to identify critical stakeholders and how to relate well with all the stakeholders so that your aim can be achieved. Because FM is a teamwork. There's nothing you can do on your own. To be able to tap into the invaluable resources of relationships around you, you can achieve anything. If you had said that to that interviewer, they would have hired you immediately.
I just walked away. I walked away in peace.
So next time you will walk away, right?
All right. Thank you very
Francis,
much, sir.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Francis,
Sir, is regarding the question the lady just asked. So I was thinking in my head that if I was in that same position, and you asked me that question, and I already believe there is an established organization already. They're already doing business. So she probably went there as an FM in her mindset, right? And they asked me that question. Then I will convert it to an FM related thing. I would just ask, I would just tell them that I can help you save 20 million.
Okay.
It's anything you save for them is still making them 20 million, right?
Yeah.
From what you have taught us.
Definitely.
So I will just switch it to what is your budget per year on management, facility management? It says 80 million. I can help you save 20 million. So we'll spend 60 million. Then the person will look like, what are you saying? I'm saying make 20 million for me. I'll say, yes, it's the same thing. So next year budget, you won't spend 80 million. You will spend 60 million. If you employ me as your
facility manager. That's a good approach as well. Sure.
I'm just thinking, I should ask. So I said, let me ask if it makes sense.
Because the person interviewing you really wants to know whether you are resilient, whether you can take on hard things. That's all. Anything you say that helps them know that, oh, this person can take on challenges is good.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
All right. So that's it for our project briefing. If you have questions, we can still continue the chat on our.
Sir, please hold on, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I hear you. Go ahead.
So all these templates that we have in our projects, like especially these budget templates, are they standard in every organization? That is how they prepare their budget, as in the structure line. Or
no, that's not how all organizations. We develop this as a basic approach. Some organizations will have more sophisticated systems.
Okay, but you can use these too, except the organization are using
something more other applications. They use their own,
like Oracle to do their own.
But if there isn't Oracle to do it, and you don't have a template to like, if you download the budget from the Oracle and it's not presentable in such a way that we can score, I would expect you to just transfer information into this template to be on the safe side.
Okay. Then for our assets register, does permits include all our permits, building permits and all that? Are we supposed to include them in our assets? Because some of them are renewable.
Permits are not your assets. Permits will be applicable to your HSE audit and applicable to your conditional assessment inspections. The documentation applies to those two projects, not asset register.
Okay, what I ask is some of them are renewable and it has to be in costs. That is what I'm asking.
Oh, I see what you mean. But your asset register is not about cost. Man. You can put it in your budget if you are talking about costs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then which other one? The business recovery plan. I had a question. I thought about a question, but I forgot. But I can ask that on the platform if I remember.
Yes, just ask freely anytime. I'll answer any question that is asked. There, we all see the question. We all see the answer. Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, Tafiq, your turn. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. After the completion of the entire project, that is when the score will be given. Is the score going to be added to the exams or differently?
Yeah. So the way the scoring is done is part A of this training is the training we have done now. Part A is 100%. Part B is 100%, right? Both of them make the overall 100%, right? Okay. Now, part A is 10% attendance, 30% assessment and assignment that you have done, and 60% exam. So there are three components that make up part A. The exam you are going to do is just 60% of part A, which automatically means that the exam is 30% of your overall 100, right? Yeah. Now, each of the projects I told you are 15, 25, 10, 25, 15, 10, right? So just though we have 10, 30, 60, making up the first 100, we have 15, 25, 10, 25, 15, 10, making up the second 100, right? Those who finish their exam and decide to graduate without the project, they will get their certificate of training, but they must have passed the exam and passed their assessments and assignments and their attendance and be able to score our target 75%. Our 75% is pass mark across all, whether 75% of the overall 100 or 75% of this part and 75% of the other part. So in essence, everything are accumulated to your final score of 100%. So your goal is to get 75% across all levels. 75 over 100 overall on part A and part B, 75 over 100 for every item. Let's say 7.5 over 10 for attendance, 22.5 over 30 for assessments, 45 over 60 for exam, for example. And that's kind of breakdown. I'll give you 75% overall at the end of the day. Okay?
Yeah. So if somebody said he would be doing his own project later, or he wants the certificate, you give him the certificate of training. So after the
yes.
Is there any certificate attached to the project?
No. If you later decide to do your project, you will have a readmission fee of 25K, and you'll return the first certificate.
Okay. Like I can't. This thing is confusing. Sorry, sir. What I'm saying. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is confusing me is, okay, somebody can even graduate without doing the project.
Yes. Now that's what I say. There are two different degrees. Certificate of training is a certificate. A diploma is a diploma.
Okay.
It's just like OND and HND.
Okay.
If you finish your exam, you can collect OND, right?
Okay.
If you finish your project, in addition, you come and collect HND. So you can either wait to collect HND at once or take OND and go. When it is time for you to do your project, you get readmitted to be taken through the project supervision process. And then once you are done, you now want to earn your higher, which is your diploma. you now return the certificate. You can have both.
Okay, now I get it better. Okay, I get.
You know why we made that provision available? Some people want to go and apply for work, want to announce for their promotion immediately. You understand? And they may not necessarily want to wait a month or 2 months to finish their project, right? So they want to have something in hand to say, oh, I finished my training, I know what I'm doing, I can deliver, right? And then they'll move in. Some even want to use it to get a job so that they can even have a place to do their project. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's how we open that opportunity.
Okay. But if somebody decides to finish everything once, that means it's still okay then.
Yes, that's fine. That's even more common. Most people decide to finish everything once and get their diploma at once.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Hello, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
I'm seeing Tom, and I'm just about to go. is coming in. How am I going to deal with that? Tom, let's hear from you.
Okay, please, back to the budget format or form.
Yeah.
Please, could you explain the totals I'm seeing? Grand total operational expenditure. We are still going down. We have lots of totals there.
Okay, there are two aspects to your budget. You have the operational expenses. Each of them have their categories. For example, rent has rent category has 2 line items. It has its own subtotal there, right? Repairs and maintenance has about 12 or so items. They have their own total there. Security service has 1, and so on and so forth. That's for OPEX. They now have the total OPEX budget.
Okay.
Right? Before you now enter capital expenditure.
Okay.
In their various categories and line items. And each one has their total before you now have the final total for CapEx. And then the grand total for everything is OPEX line item plus CapEx line item.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome. I just saw you coming when we were closing.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Don't worry, you have the recording, okay? So I'm going to give you this recording. I have another recording for the project clarification session I had with the last batch, and then even the project review session I had with the previous batch. So you're going to have a series of videos that will throw more light. By the time you watch all 3 of them, this will be a breeze in your hand. Okay.
Thank you very much for that.
All right.
That will be nice.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Yeah, cheers.